The official stood firm, clipboard clutched tightly as she blocked the elderly man's path. "Sir, your name isn't on the authorized attendee list. I cannot allow you entry without proper clearance," she said, her tone cold and final. The old man didn't argue. He stood quietly in his worn suit, clutching a folded American flag that looked faded but meticulously cared for, a symbol of decades of sacrifice and memory. Around them, families and military dignitaries moved past, their faces solemn as they prepared to honor fallen SEALs in the service ahead. From across the memorial grounds, a group of active duty SEALs noticed the tension. Their eyes locked on the flag in the old man's hands, then shifted to his weathered face. Recognition struck them like lightning. This was no stranger, but a man whose legacy was etched into the very foundation of their elite force. Without hesitation, the SEALs broke formation, their disciplined march cutting through the crowd with quiet authority. The murmurs died down as all eyes followed their purposeful approach. As they reached the entrance, the SEALs moved to either side of the walkway, forming a powerful salute tunnel. Each stood tall, their salute crisp and unwavering, honoring a hero who didn't need a name on a list to claim his place. The old man's steps grew steadier as he walked through the aisle of respect and gratitude, his flag held close like a badge of honor. The crowd watched in awe, the weight of the moment settling over them like a sacred promise. What unfolded was more than a memorial. It was a testament to the enduring bonds of brotherhood, sacrifice, and respect. A reminder that true honor transcends paperwork and protocol, resting instead in the hearts of those who serve. Welcome to Echoes of Honor, where we discover that the most important people are often those whose names aren't on any list. Before we continue this incredible story about honor, brotherhood, and the bonds that transcend bureaucracy, tell us in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today. And if you believe these stories about military respect and remembering our fallen heroes deserve to be shared, please hit that subscribe button to join our growing community. Your support helps us honor those who carry the memory of the ultimate sacrifice. The annual Navy SEAL Memorial Service at Arlington National Cemetery was scheduled to begin at 1,400 hours on a gray November afternoon. With autumn clouds gathering over the hallowed grounds where America's fallen heroes rest in eternal honor. The ceremony would pay tribute to SEALs who had made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their country, including recent casualties from ongoing operations and historical figures whose deaths had shaped the evolution of Special Operations Forces. The memorial service drew attendance from across the military and government communities, including active duty SEALs, veteran Special Operations personnel, family members of fallen warriors, senior military officials, and government representatives who understood the significance of honoring those who had served in the nation's most dangerous missions. Security and access control were necessarily strict, reflecting both the high-profile nature of many attendees and the sensitive nature of special operations that continued to be conducted by surviving team members. The guest list had been carefully compiled to include family members, military personnel, and officials whose presence was considered appropriate for the solemn occasion. Each name had been verified through multiple channels, with background checks and security clearances ensuring that only authorized individuals could attend the ceremony. The list represented months of coordination between military officials, government agencies, and family organizations dedicated to honoring fallen SEALs. Standing at the main entrance checkpoint was Margaret Williams, a civilian administrative official whose job was to verify credentials and ensure that only approved attendees gained access to the memorial service. Her instructions were clear and inflexible. No exceptions to the approved list, no matter what circumstances might arise or what stories unauthorized individuals might tell to gain entry. Approaching the checkpoint was Command Master Chief Petty Officer Robert Bobby Mitchell. The Margaret had no way of knowing his name, his significance to the SEAL community, or the profound personal connection he carried to many of the fallen warriors being honored at the ceremony. At 78, Bobby moved slowly but with unmistakable military bearing, his civilian suit unable to disguise the posture and presence of someone who had spent decades in positions of leadership and authority. In Bobby's weathered hands was an American flag that had been folded with military precision and preserved with the kind of care that suggested it represented something far more significant than patriotic symbolism. The flag showed signs of age and handling, its edges slightly frayed and its colors faded from years of respectful display, but its condition spoke to careful preservation rather than neglect or disrespect. What Margaret couldn't see, what the security procedures couldn't account for, was that Bobby carried with him connections to the SEAL community that spanned 4 decades of service and sacrifice. His presence at the memorial wasn't casual or sentimental, it was deeply personal, representing promises made to dying teammates, obligations to fallen brothers, and responsibilities that extended far beyond official military duty. The flag that Bobby carried had been presented to him by the widow of Chief Petty Officer Marcus Thompson, a SEAL who had been killed in action in Afghanistan 3 years earlier. Thompson had served under Bobby's command early in his career, and his widow had asked Bobby to ensure that the flag was present at memorial services honoring fallen SEALs, believing that her husband's spirit would be represented through Bobby's attendance at such ceremonies. When Bobby approached Margaret's checkpoint, she immediately consulted her clipboard and tablet to locate his name among the approved attendees. Her search quickly confirmed what she had suspected from his civilian appearance and lack of obvious family connections to any of the honorees. He was not on the authorized list for the memorial service. "Sir, I need to see your invitation and identification," Margaret announced with the kind of administrative authority that suggested compliance was mandatory and exceptions were impossible. Her tone carried the efficiency of someone who had processed hundreds of similar requests and had learned to handle irregularities with firm denial rather than flexible interpretation. Bobby produced his identification and explained that while he didn't have a formal written invitation, he had been asked by several families to represent their fallen loved ones at the ceremony. His explanation included references to his decades of service with SEAL teams and his ongoing connections to the families of warriors who had been killed in action. "Sir, I don't see your name anywhere on our approved list," Margaret replied, her bureaucratic training overriding any consideration of Bobby's obvious military background or the respectful way he held the American flag. "Without proper authorization, I cannot allow you to enter the memorial service. This is a private ceremony for family members and official military personnel only." Other security personnel had noticed the developing situation and moved closer to provide support if Bobby became argumentative or refused to accept the denial of access. Their presence suggested they viewed him as a potential disruption rather than a distinguished veteran whose attendance had been requested by the families of fallen warriors. Bobby's response reflected the respect for authority and understanding of military protocol that had characterized his entire career. "Ma'am, I understand you're following procedures. I'm here at the request of several families who asked me to represent their sons and husbands at this ceremony. Is there someone I could speak with to explain my situation?" Margaret's suspicion deepened as Bobby's explanation continued to lack the concrete documentation she was trained to require. From her perspective, elderly civilians who claimed personal relationships with SEAL families and unofficial invitations to restricted memorial services were exactly the type of unauthorized individuals she was supposed to exclude. "Sir, if you're not on the list, you cannot attend," Margaret stated firmly, her voice carrying increased authority as she prepared to deny access definitively. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave the area. This is a restricted military ceremony." The confrontation was beginning to attract attention from military personnel and families moving through the checkpoint, many of whom paused to observe what appeared to be a routine security procedure involving someone who had attempted to gain unauthorized access to the memorial service. But among the spectators were a group of active duty SEALs who had arrived early for the ceremony and were moving through the security area when they noticed the elderly man being denied access. These warriors immediately recognized something in Bobby's bearing that civilian security personnel had missed: the unmistakable presence of someone who had served with distinction in Special Operations Forces. More importantly, several of the SEALs recognized Bobby personally from their own service experiences or from stories they had heard about legendary figures in SEAL history. Petty Officer First Class Jake Morrison had served under Bobby's command early in his career. Chief Petty Officer David Santos had heard countless stories about Bobby's leadership during some of the most dangerous missions in SEAL history. Petty Officer Second Class Michael Chong had studied Bobby's tactical innovations during his own training. Recognition spread through the group of SEALs as they realized that the man being denied access to the memorial service was Command Master Chief Bobby Mitchell, one of the most respected figures in naval special warfare history. Someone whose leadership had shaped generations of special operations personnel and whose presence at the ceremony was not just appropriate but essential to honoring the fallen warriors being remembered. Without consultation or hesitation, the group of 12 active duty SEALs moved toward the security checkpoint with the kind of coordinated purpose that immediately commanded attention from everyone in the vicinity. Their movement was precise, deliberate, and carried the unmistakable authority of warriors who had been trained to take decisive action when circumstances demanded immediate response. Chief Petty Officer Santos, the senior member of the group, approached Margaret with the respect due to civilian personnel while making it clear that a significant error was being made. "Ma'am, I need to inform you that you're denying access to Command Master Chief Bobby Mitchell, one of the most distinguished leaders in SEAL history." The transformation in Margaret's demeanor was immediate as she began to understand that her standard security procedures had intercepted someone whose presence at the memorial service was not only appropriate but crucial to the event's significance. Her bureaucratic confidence wavered as she looked from the young SEALs to Bobby with growing uncertainty about how to proceed. Petty Officer Morrison stepped forward to provide additional context that would help Margaret understand the magnitude of her mistake. Command Master Chief Mitchell served with SEAL teams for over 30 years, including multiple combat deployments and leadership positions that shaped our entire community. He's not just invited to this ceremony, he should be conducting it. The crowd that had gathered to observe the security dispute now found themselves witnessing something far more significant than a routine access denial. Military officials, families, and other attendees began to realize that they were in the presence of living SEAL history, someone whose service had directly contributed to the traditions and values being honored at the memorial service. But the most powerful moment was yet to come. As recognition of Bobby's significance spread through the group of SEALs, they spontaneously formed two parallel lines facing each other, creating a pathway from the security checkpoint toward the memorial service entrance. Without command or coordination, each SEAL came to attention and raised his right hand in salute, forming what would become known as a tunnel of honor for Bobby to walk through. The formation of the salute tunnel represented more than military courtesy. It was a spontaneous expression of respect that transcended formal protocol and touched the deepest traditions of brotherhood that defined special operations culture. Each SEAL in the formation understood that they were honoring not just Bobby's individual service, but the collective sacrifice of all SEALs who had served before them and those being remembered at the ceremony. Margaret stepped aside immediately, her administrative authority overwhelmed by the obvious significance of what she was witnessing. The security procedures that had seemed so important moments earlier now appeared bureaucratic and insufficient compared to the authentic recognition being demonstrated by the warriors themselves. Bobby's response to the honor being shown him reflected both his gratitude and his understanding of what the gesture meant to the young SEALs who would carry forward the legacy he had helped establish. "Gentlemen, it's my honor to serve alongside you and to remember our fallen brothers together." As Bobby walked through the tunnel of salutes, word spread rapidly through the memorial service about what was happening at the entrance. Families, military officials, and other attendees moved to witness the impromptu ceremony that was honoring someone whose presence connected the memorial service to decades of SEAL history and tradition. The tunnel of salutes became the most photographed and remembered moment of the memorial service, representing the kind of authentic military respect that no amount of formal protocol could have created. Each SEAL maintaining his salute understood that he was participating in something that would be remembered long after the formal ceremony concluded. The memorial service's commanding officer, Captain Lisa Rodriguez, witnessed the salute tunnel and immediately understood its significance. She approached Bobby personally to ensure that he received the recognition appropriate to his status and contributions to the SEAL community. "Command Master Chief Mitchell, sir, your presence here honors not just our fallen brothers, but all of us who continue to serve." During the memorial service, Bobby was given a place of honor among the families and senior military officials, his presence connecting the formal ceremony to the personal relationships and individual stories that gave meaning to the collective remembrance. The flag he carried was revealed to represent Chief Petty Officer Thompson, whose widow had specifically requested that Bobby attend memorial services on behalf of her fallen husband. The ceremony's most powerful moment came when Bobby was invited to participate in the reading of names of fallen SEALs. His voice, weathered by age but strong with conviction, called out the names of warriors he had personally known, trained, and led into combat. Each name represented not just a casualty statistic, but a personal relationship and individual story of service and sacrifice. The flag that had triggered initial suspicion about Bobby's authorization to attend was revealed to be one of several that he carried to memorial services, each representing a different fallen SEAL whose family had entrusted him with ensuring their loved one's memory was honored at such ceremonies. His attendance at memorial services had become a sacred duty that he performed for families who could not always be present themselves. The 12 SEALs who had formed the salute tunnel remained at attention until Bobby had completely passed through their formation, their sustained tribute creating a moment of profound respect that elevated the entire memorial service. Their spontaneous action demonstrated that authentic military honor comes not from following procedures, but but from recognizing and responding to genuine significance and sacrifice. After the formal ceremony concluded, Bobby spent time with individual families, sharing personal stories about their fallen loved ones and providing the kind of detailed remembrances that only someone with deep personal connections could offer. His presence gave families access to stories and memories that helped them understand the full measure of their losses and the continuing impact of their sacrifices. The SEALs who had recognized Bobby and formed the salute tunnel maintained contact with him long after the memorial service, understanding that their connection to him represented access to decades of SEAL history and wisdom that could not be found in any training manual or official documentation. Their intervention at the security checkpoint had begun relationships that would preserve and honor naval special warfare traditions. Margaret Williams, the administrative official who had initially denied Bobby access, later approached him to apologize personally and to express her gratitude for the education she had received about the importance of understanding the full context of military service and sacrifice. Her experience with Bobby changed her approach to future security duties, making her more sensitive to the possibility that unauthorized individuals might actually be distinguished veterans deserving of special consideration. The salute tunnel became part of the permanent culture of SEAL memorial services, with future ceremonies incorporating similar recognitions for distinguished veterans whose presence honored fallen warriors. Bobby's experience demonstrated that the most meaningful military traditions often emerge spontaneously from authentic recognition rather than formal protocol. The flag that Bobby carried to the memorial service was eventually presented to Chief Petty Officer Thompson's young son during a private ceremony that connected the boy to his father's military service and the brotherhood that continued to honor his sacrifice. Bobby's role in preserving and presenting such memorials became part of his ongoing service to SEAL families. Captain Rodriguez arranged for Bobby to be given permanent recognition at all future SEAL memorial services, ensuring that his presence would continue to connect contemporary ceremonies with the historical foundations of naval special warfare. His attendance became a tradition that reinforced the importance of maintaining connections between past and present generations of special operations personnel. The incident at the security checkpoint became a teaching moment for military and civilian personnel about the importance of recognizing that service and sacrifice cannot always be measured by official lists and formal credentials. Bobby's experience demonstrated that the most important attendees at military ceremonies are sometimes those whose names don't appear on any official documentation. The bureaucratic procedures that had seemed so important to Margaret were revealed to be inadequate for recognizing the full spectrum of military service and sacrifice that deserved representation at memorial ceremonies. Bobby's exclusion from the official list reflected administrative oversight rather than any lack of qualification or appropriateness for attending the service. In the years that followed, Bobby continued to attend SEAL memorial services across the country, carrying flags and messages from families who trusted him to represent their fallen loved ones at ceremonies they could not attend personally. His presence at such events ensured that individual stories and personal connections remained central to collective remembrance. The 12 SEALs who had formed the salute tunnel often reflected on how their recognition of Bobby's significance had taught them about the importance of understanding and honoring military history. Their spontaneous action had demonstrated that true leadership sometimes requires challenging bureaucratic systems to ensure that the right thing is done. The memorial service that had begun with Bobby's exclusion became one of the most meaningful ceremonies in SEAL history, with the salute tunnel representing the kind of authentic military respect that no amount of formal planning could have created. The moment demonstrated that the most powerful tributes often emerge from genuine recognition rather than official protocol. Bobby's attendance at the memorial service honored not just the fallen SEALs being remembered, but all veterans whose service had contributed to the foundations of Special Operations Forces. His presence connected contemporary ceremonies to historical traditions and ensured that current memorial services maintained continuity with past generations of warriors. The American flag that had marked Bobby as an outsider to administrative personnel was revealed to be a sacred trust that connected him to families throughout the SEAL community. His role as a keeper of such memorials demonstrated that service to military families continues long after official duty ends, and that the most important military traditions are often maintained by individuals rather than institutions. The security checkpoint that had briefly become a barrier to Bobby's attendance was transformed into a reminder that proper respect for veterans requires understanding the full context of their service rather than simply following administrative procedures. The experience taught everyone involved that bureaucracy should serve honor rather than obstruct it. Sometimes the most important moments in military ceremonies occur when warriors recognize the giants among them and take action to ensure that those giants receive the honor they deserve. The 12 Navy SEALs who formed a salute tunnel for Bobby Mitchell had demonstrated that true military bearing includes the courage to challenge systems that fail to recognize greatness, even when that greatness doesn't appear on official lists. The Tunnel of Salutes became a symbol of the brotherhood that unites all SEALs across generations and conflicts, demonstrating that respect for distinguished service transcends bureaucratic procedures and official protocols. The spontaneous tribute showed that authentic military honor emerges from genuine recognition rather than administrative authorization. Bobby's flag, his presence, and his stories connected the memorial service to individual human experiences that gave meaning to collective remembrance. His exclusion from the official list had been corrected not by administrative revision, but by the authentic recognition of warriors who understood the true measure of service and sacrifice. The memorial service concluded with Bobby leading the final salute to fallen SEALs, his voice calling out a traditional farewell that connected the ceremony to decades of similar tributes. His presence had transformed a formal memorial into a personal remembrance that honored both individual sacrifice and collective service. This story was brought to you by Echoes of Honor. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever known someone who never asked for recognition but deserved more than anyone else? Someone whose service to others continued long after their official duties ended? Tell us in the comments about the veterans in your life who carry the memories and honor the sacrifices of their fallen comrades, and how their dedication has inspired your understanding of true service. And if you think stories like these about military brotherhood and honoring fallen heroes deserve to be shared, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. We'll see you in the next one.